Death to the Daleks. Now that's a sentiment I can absolutely get behind. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. I hate most Dalek stories, and this one is no exception to that rule, but I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to try and find something else worthwhile to talk about. And the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this wasn't supposed to be a Dalek story. Well, I mean, it was, but it wasn't. The story in this slot and the rough plot outline was originally titled The Exelons, and the overall plot had nothing to do with Daleks whatsoever. However, the bigwigs in the production department wanted to cash in on the popularity of the Daleks, and so they hired Terry Nation to fill out the script and add in the Daleks, and here we are. So what I would say is this story is much more enjoyable as long as you pretend the Daleks aren't really Daleks, they're just some other random species. And that's a lot easier to do in this one because they are immediately depowered and spend most of the episode without the ability to kill. So I guess the most interesting non-Dalek related thing about this story is the unfortunate synchronicity with when it was broadcast compared to what the plot is. The central feature of the plot is that the Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith are traveling to some paradise vacation planet, which is never gonna work. It never does. And the TARDIS is of course waylaid on the planet Exelon when it's completely drained of power. And it turns out there is an Earth Force expedition there on the planet, also stranded due to power draining, and as I mentioned before, the Daleks arrive, and they too are completely drained of power and unable to use their weapons. So, what's the unfortunate synchronicity there? Well, there were massive power outages in the UK during the first 2 weeks when this story was broadcast. And that's a whole political background thing I won't go into. There was actually a change of government in the midst of all of this, and the power grid was finally restabilized just in time for the third episode of Death to the Daleks to air. And so if you look at the viewership numbers of each episode for this story, it has a really unusual pattern. Usually with these stories, the first episode has the higher viewership and then it drops off after that. With this one, the third episode got the highest viewership of the entire story, largely because for great swaths of the UK, the third episode was the first one they could actually watch. I do have one other non-Dalek related thing to talk about in this story, but it doesn't happen until tomorrow, so I'm going to save it until then so that I at least have something to talk about tomorrow besides how much I hate the Daleks. By the way, have I mentioned I really hate the Daleks? In any case, check back again tomorrow when I have something else about this story to talk about, and in which I will probably say I hate the Daleks at least another half dozen times. I'll see you then.